All right, I want to bring in my colleague Shiv Arur into this conversation. Shiv, images coming in of Prime Minister Modi meeting Prime Minister Kishida.
Preeti, very important images of Prime Minister Modi with Prime Minister Kishida of Japan. The India-Japan relationship, remember, has been one that has deepened over the last 20 to 25 years in a very dramatic way. We've seen the kind of body language that the Indian Prime Minister has shared with the former Prime Minister, Mr. Kishida's predecessor, Shinzo Abe, who tragically died last year. The Prime Minister has made it a point to show a great deal of respect to India's relationship with Japan. And this is a relationship on many different levels, Preeti, whether it comes to technology, whether it comes to economy, infrastructure, telecom, tech, all manner of cooperation agreements between the two countries. Recently, large-scale infrastructure projects have also been discussed between the two countries. So this bilateral is important from all of those different perspectives. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Kishida also, interestingly, share quite a warm rapport with each other, which was seen when they met earlier today as well. They spent a couple of minutes at that at the Konak wheel as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next chapter is going to be. Remember that India and Japan are also part of the Malabar series of exercises. They've got a deepening military relationship as well. Preeti, Japan's issues with China, align India and Japanese interests in the South China Sea, the Asia-Pacific area, ASEAN. All of those issues completely align India and Japan in a very big way. So it's going to be interesting to see how this happens, especially since China this time decided that their president would not be attending.
True, Shiv. I also want to bring in Poulomi Saha, my colleague, who's joining us from the Bharat Mandapam on these images, visuals that are coming in. Poulomi, interesting visuals. The Prime Minister meeting with his Japanese counterpart. At one end, of course, Shiv was mentioning a deepening of relationships with Japan. But having said that, China also, Poulomi, chairs the G7, a grouping that has been very, very vocal of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the war that is on. So especially when it comes down to the Delhi Declaration and building consensus, the role of Japan would be important, where it needs to be factored in.
Of course, Japan is, of course, also, part of the Quad as well. We do share a very close relationship with Japan, and Japan's voice is going to be extremely significant when, of course, that joint communique, the New Delhi Declaration, as it is being called, is in fact put together. Negotiations for that are, of course, underway. China will, of course, hope that, there is little or no mention of the conflict and the impact of that conflict on the world economy. But that is exactly why, the other countries, of course, members of the G20, especially from the West, have been pressing on a mention of the same. Because while there are those who say that, as far as the G20 is concerned, the ambit of the G20 is not concerned with security-related matters, there are those who say that this very conflict is impacting world economy, is in fact leading to inflation. Food prices have gone up, energy prices have gone up, fertilizer prices have gone up, and hence it needs to be reflected in that joint communique. So that interaction, of course, in terms of Japan's voice and Japan, in fact, putting forth its views as far as, the obstructionism that China has been engaging in is going to be extremely significant. And that bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida extremely significant as well after the bilateral that the Prime Minister just had a short while ago with UK's Prime Minister.